Yes, my Straight Talk family, whenever you hear that music and they hear that theme song, you know it is time for another edition of Straight Talk and time for me to bid St. Kitts and Nevis a very pleasant night. So to all my Straight Talk family in the entire Eastern Caribbean region, or should I say the entire Caribbean region. And there are those as well all over the world. In Africa, there's some in Asia, in Europe, and a whole lot of you all over North America on the World Wide Web. And it's time for me to say good night. I can say good morning. I can also say good afternoon, because one of such greetings will be applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. And in the event you have joined me for the first time, just to inform you that Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes free, underline, free expression of national interests, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, we do have a forum to express yourselves freely. Let's, in the process, try to keep St. Kitts and Nevis as one of the freest countries in the entire universe. On this program, we try also to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Ian Patrick Liburd, and I give Almighty God thanks for blessing me with yet another opportunity to join you in conversation on yet another occasion. And I made it my business to be here tonight. Forgive me for what seems to be my tiredness, but I had to run from a meeting to ensure I can dialogue with my people. And I want to inform you as well, for the first timers, that Straight Talk is a participative program. Remember I said, it's a public service program. No matter what you hear them say, believe me, it's a program we discuss all the issues of national interest. And by saying participative, what I mean, we include your calls, we include your emails, and if you're so minded to call, you can access the program via 465-2555 and or 718-577-2916. There's some of you who like the cloak of anonymity, so I give you an opportunity to access our email platform. You want to hide behind your keyboard, just be respectful. But the email address is zistraighttalk. I read all your emails. I do read all your emails, irrespective, even at those that criticize the host. But just be respectful. And I must first of all as well apologize for what I call the premature end of our last program on Monday. There was some technical interference. I don't know where it came from, but I do apologize. Someone asked what I'm going to talk about tonight. And I found myself in a state of ambivalence, because on the one hand, I feel like I have spoken enough about this pandemic. But on the other hand, if I stop talking about the pandemic, it just may be a dereliction of my duty. But before I go in any further, and before I forget, how many of us know that Saturday, June the 5th, Saturday coming, the Team Unity Administration will celebrate its first anniversary of its second term in office. Remember, you would recall that election day was Friday, June 5th, 2020. That it was election 2020. And you know, in an article in the Wick News written by Wick News reporter and dated the 5th June 2020, the headline read, and I quote, "Landslide victory for Team Unity in St. Kitts and Nevis." You hear that? Landslide victory for Team Unity in St. Kitts and Nevis. So come Saturday, Team Unity again will be celebrating its first anniversary of its second term in office. Believe it or not. And Straight Talk would like to congratulate Prime Minister Harris and his entire cabinet. Keep on doing what you're doing, cabinet. Team Unity together won by a 62.9% margin, a 63% margin, forget the 0.9. And that was considered a landslide victory. So I would like to say again, congratulations to the Team Unity administration. And if you put this into the context of the National Emergency Operations Committee and the Health Emergency Operations Committee, which is a part of the NEOC, so far they have achieved a 62.5%, call it a 63% rollout of its vaccine program. Some may want to say vaccination program, whatever you wish. But I also wish to congratulate all involved for this landslide achievement. It has to be a landslide achievement. Now, many of you as well have been calling me and telling me about the most handsome DJ and talk show host in St. Kitts. It's not me. You're not telling me about me. And while I appreciate what you're saying, I appreciate many of you, as you put it, you're watching my back. But you know my position. I told you the last program on Monday that lately Moore told me not to argue with certain people, not to argue with fools, to be exact. And it really, it came home to me years after when I came across, as I said before, the Mark Twain theory. So in response to them, in response to all those who are telling me about this particular DJ and host, I go look for Mark Twain for advice, and he told me, never argue with an idiot. He will bring you down to his level and beat you with experience. So, thanks for watching my back, but that's enough for that. But listening to the Prime Minister's press conference this morning, the country was informed, well informed, and brought up to date with what's happening in spite of the pandemic. And I learned as well, and we all learned, how we were informed that St. Kitts and Nevis moved into a new industry, to wit, the movie making industry. How many of us knew that, my Straight Talk family? The Prime Minister reported this.
Students and their professors would patronize. Movie making will be consolidated in St. Kitts and Nevis. And interestingly, we have been able to host one principally at the Park Hyatt facility below deck, and the anticipation is that 6 will be produced by MSR Productions. When we asked Philip why he had chosen St. Kitts and Nevis as the top place to begin the filming of his movies, he said he was pointed to Barbados. And indeed, he was in Barbados when he finalized his decision. He had been pointed to the Dominican Republic, which has an excellent record in film production, and he had been pointed elsewhere. What was the deciding factor, he said to us, was our success in the management of COVID-19. COVID-19, in the end, gave us many challenges and difficulties.
But it also has given us many opportunities. But this information reminded me of a movie. I always remembered this movie, and I always remember the movie star. How many of us remember Clint Eastwood? I don't know if many of you are old enough to remember Clint Eastwood, beg your pardon, who starred in a movie called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Remember those cinema days? They had the pit, pit, balcony, and circle, was it? Right. I was in pit at the time, and I went to see the Clint Eastwood movie, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Take your time, Patches. But the enigma, or the person, or the mysterious part of this movie that was difficult to understand, and the centerpiece, or the most important part of the good, the bad, and the ugly, was the character called Blondie, also known as the man with no name, who was portrayed by Clint Eastwood. The movie, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, reminds me of a daily show on radio, on one of those panic factories, I call them. And in one of the episodes throughout the week, it's a weekly show, is a man whose name comes from the alphabet. And you know the alphabet starts A, B, C, D, E, right? And you can continue. F, G, H, I, K. You can also say I, M, N, O, P. And you go on with your alphabet. The mystique that this man carries throughout his weekly programs personifies his character. He does not have a backstory or even a real name. As I said, his name comes from the 2 letters in the alphabet. And his character is defined by his words. And if time permits me tonight, I will tell you more as well about his actions. But this character had this to say, my Straight Dog family, some time ago. And he said this, believe it or not, this is what he said.
Somehow, because I am facilitating open discussion about the vaccine and about the COVID-19 and about the way the authorities is going about it and rolling it out, I have been labeled as an anti-vaxxer. People have questioned my love for my children, my love for my country, and Patches, who is an ambassador to the UN, of St. Kitts and Nevis had a whole show trying to convince his small group of people who listens to him religiously every week that somehow Ike is evil incarnate. And so I have taken the position to no longer be a part of the conversation, because I don't want to continue to come under the fire from these people. And if people are going to take what I am doing and what I'm saying and twist it and turn it to suit their own political agenda, well, I am no longer going to give them fuel for their fire. You see the banter on the Freedom Wall every day. Who ain't calling me ugly, calling me this, calling me that?
And my Shedog family, I empathize with him, the banter. But he decided that he was not going to say anything more about the vaccine. But you ask yourself why? Why he was not going to say anything further about the vaccine? And my Stray Dog family, all of a sudden, this week, he said something, because I understand that he was not saying anything because he had something to sell. And some DJs and some artists were selling for different prices. Some were selling for 20,000, some were selling for 40,000. They want to carry the message for team unity about taking the vaccine. $20,000 was a selling price. And those who asked for $20,000 and $40,000 and were refused, they will be on the wrong side of history. But the sale was not completed because those with the money said, no, we're not going to have none of that. And guess what? The man came back with a vengeance.
Oh, the same narrative and the same script. It is for public health. You have a moral obligation. Do the right thing. If you don't do the right thing, you're putting people in jeopardy. Now, what the hell that got to do with the science? Because what you're saying and what you're pushing out there has nothing to do with the blasted science. And I said openly that Dr. Cameron Wilkinson, Dr. Hazel Laws, Leslie Williams, the Cromwell Henry, Dr. Timothy Harris, Shannon Harley, Tony Frederick, and the rest of them need to just hush, go away. But every time the leaders speak, they double down. Chief of Medicine come on and he want to quote some George Jefferson and with George Washington. What the hell that got to do with people in St. Kitts and Nevis? Set of cooks and set of tea, them don't mean nothing to St. Kitts people. Nothing at all. You can't go to Cameron Winkles and tell him you want an operation and you don't have no money. Because he not got no moral obligation to help you. You won't pay your money. But he wants to stand up and say to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis that they have a moral obligation.
And you know, my Stray Dog family, ask yourself, what changed from last week to this week? It's all about selling, all about sales. But it did not stop there, my Stray Dog family. The man came back with venom.
And you got people like Patches Liburd, who's supposed to be an ambassador to the UN. The UN is an organization established to make sure that countries adhere to the treaties that they sign on to. And instead, this puppy show come on the radio to advise people, but instead he comes and advises us. He gets a tape with me laughing in the afternoon on my radio show and playing it over and over and over in a cycle and sounding like a broken record. And these are the people who are supposed to be in the forefront of leadership.
You see, my Stray Dog family, You see, my straight dog family, they were gloating about our cases. And just to spend 1 minute on the United Nations, when I met the Secretary General Antonio Guterres, I commended him for the stance he took as it relates to the COVID vaccine. And his famous words that the COVID vaccine is a public good. But he went on further and he spoke to another pandemic, which is this one.
The COVID-19 pandemic, the most challenging crisis we have faced since the Second World War. We are also seeing another epidemic, a dangerous epidemic of misinformation. Around the world, people are scared, they want to know what to do and where to turn for advice. This is a time for science and solidarity. Yet, the global misinfodemic is spreading. Harmful health advice and snake oil solutions are proliferating. Falsehoods are filling the airwaves. Wild conspiracy theories are infecting the internet. Hatred is going viral, stigmatizing and vilifying people and groups. The world must unite against this disease too. And the vaccine is trust. First, trust in science. And I salute the journalists and others fact-checking the mountain of misleading stories and social media posts. Social media companies must do more to root out hate and harmful assertions about COVID-19. Second, trust in institutions, grounded in responsive, responsible, evidence-based governance and leadership. And trust in each other. Mutual respect and upholding human rights must be our compass in navigating this crisis. Together, let's reject the lies and nonsense out there.
Yes, that's the instruction I got from the UN Secretary General. Together, he said, we must reject the lies they speak every day on this panic factory on their talk shows. But he also instructed me further through his communication initiative. He instructed all the member countries as well to do this.
Today, I'm announcing a new United Nations Communications Response Initiative to flood the internet with facts and science while countering the growing scourge of misinformation, a poison that is putting even more lives at risk. With common cause for common sense and facts, we can defeat COVID-19 and build a healthier, more equitable, just and resilient.
Yes, my straight dog family. That's the communication initiative of the UN Secretary General to provide facts and information and get rid of this scourge of lies that come from these panic factories. And I'm speaking to one panic factory, one particular panic factory in St. Kitts and Nevis. And I too, I was very happy when the Prime Minister himself spoke to the other pandemic as it relates to the misinformation, my straight dog family, that's peddled by these panic factories. But getting back to the positive things and leaving those non-entities behind us, my straight dog family. The strategy of team unity has always been to balance lives and livelihoods.
I am, of course, very pleased to update our citizens and residents on some important matters of state. These press conferences play an important role in our democracy, and they are an opportunity for your government to take you into its confidence and provide you with accurate and factual information on the issues that matter to you. Even as my government continues to keep people safe and secure, we are very mindful to delicately balance the tension between lives and livelihoods as a consequence of the dangerous COVID-19 pandemic. COVID-19, and more particularly its management, consequences, and recovery from its debilitating tentacles are foremost on the minds of everyone in every corner of the globe. To date, 1 billion vaccine doses have been administered.
Yes, 1.9 billion doses have been administered. But through it all, we have to fight this infodemic, this misinformation as it relates to what's happening in St. Kitts and Nevis. And I'm happy that the Prime Minister addressed that today.
In a pandemic, time wasted could result in lives lost. In addition to the fight against the novel coronavirus, we have been fighting another pandemic, best described as the pandemic of misinformation. False information, willfully and maliciously peddled by some locally and abroad to retard the progress we have made for their own personal agenda.
Yes, their own personal agenda. So, Straight Talk brings you the facts. And apart from the United Nations Communication Initiative, I must also say that I am a born citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis. And the Constitution that I know of 1983 protects our fundamental rights and freedoms. So yes, I will speak in spite of that communication initiative from the Secretary General of the United Nations. But as an update, my Straight Talk family, we got this information from the Chief Medical Officer today.
Good morning, everyone. Before I comment regarding the vaccines, I just want to use this opportunity to provide an update to those present and the population at large regarding our present COVID-19 status in the Federation. Now, between the dissemination of the last release by the Ministry of Health yesterday and the present, so in other words, within the last 24 hours, we have recorded 1 additional case of COVID-19. This new case is a national and is hereon referred to as case 75. The individual is in isolation at a COVID-19 certified facility. This case brings the total number of COVID-19 confirmed cases to 75, with 61 cases for St. Kitts, 14 cases for Nevis. Please note that 48 cases have fully recovered with 0 deaths.
Thank God, 0 deaths, my Straight Talk family. Thank God as well, we have a team at the HEOC headed by the Chief Medical Officer with the Chief Engineer, the Medical Chief of Staff, Cameron Wilkinson, who told us that we were well prepared for this community spread.
Let me first say that we said all along it was only a matter of time before we developed community spread. It was inevitable. And so when it happened, we were not surprised, but we were prepared. Now, unlike many other countries across the globe who developed community spread, rising cases and death and had to vaccinate themselves out of it, including the great United States, including the UK. We were prepared such that we were able to keep the virus at bay and had our population sufficiently vaccinated such that when community spread occurred, we had a significant proportion of the population vaccinated. You heard that about 62.5% of the population have received their first dose, and that gives them a 76% protection against severe disease and death. You heard that 24% of the population is fully vaccinated, and that gives them 100% protection against death and an 84% protection against severe disease. And also, there's a significant reduction in the chance of one passing the virus on to someone else, between 63 to 83%.
But through it all, my Straight Talk family, yes, we're well prepared. The NEOC and the HEOC have advised government of St. Nevis well. And on that basis, the government itself has done well. Let's take a snapshot at something's done. Look at the manufacturing sector, for example, my Straight Talk family.
Government has successfully opened all major sectors of the economy. I will now examine the situation of our main economic drivers in brief. Turning to the manufacturing sector, most of the workers in manufacturing plants have returned to their job. Data reveals that over 1,166 persons are back to work in the manufacturing industry. The main export manufacturing entities are all operating at different levels of capacity, of course. At Jaro, 230 employees are at work. At API Harrisova, 112. At Carry Brewery, 155. Electrofab, 65. St. Island Close, 70. Cajola Cristada, 168. The Marara Distillers, 7 employees. Caribbean Magnetic, Brush Limited, 35 employees, to name a few of the entities. Our manufacturing and export enclave is critically important. To date, we remain the single largest exporter of merchandise to the USA among all member states of the OECS in Barbados. This is significant, and we want to maintain that export potential of our manufacturing sector. Beyond employment, the manufacturing sector has been contributing with exports for the January to April 2021, totaling just over $33 million, compared to $27.9 million for the comparative period of 2020. This represents an increase of 80.
So when they're bringing false news, like Straight Talk family, this is good news. And government has done well, even in the area of fisheries and agriculture. What about its own workers? Government employees mean a lot to us, and government is one of the biggest employers, not the biggest employer, in St. Kitts and Nevis. And the government, my Straight Talk family, that is indisputable. Government itself is a model employer.
The record to reiterate that the Team Unity government has been a model employer. I am pleased to report that despite the financial economic challenges resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis has been able to its payroll obligations to all of its employees, including both monthly and weekly paid, and to all pensioners. Indeed, this government has not laid off a single employee on a quarantine. My government's payroll supports some 3,908 paid employees, 1,124 government auxiliary employees, 1,346 pensioners, over 6,400 persons directly depend on their government paycheck month after month. To this burden we must add, while the total payroll disbursement by the government and St. Kitts and Nevis from January to May, covering these three categories, monthly paid employees, government auxiliary employees, and pensioners, is a whopping $115,399 and $399,183.25. I'm not too sure why the Accountant General gave me with that precision. So to make it more simple, the total payroll from January to May 2021 is $115.4 million.
$115.4 million. And since COVID, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis has paid every single salaried employee, beg your pardon. They've paid every single general auxiliary worker his or her wages. They've paid every single pensioner, total them up, 6,378 in all, 3,908 salaried civil servants, 1,124 general auxiliary workers. Remember, the former administration did not graduate them as they promised, and 1,346 or 346, beg your pardon, pensioners. And add to that 3,000 step workers for an additional $21 million. This is good news, my straight dog family. But to get the economy fully charged and the engine in full throttle, we have to play our part, my straight dog family.
What is important, though, we keep saying that individually and collectively, we all have to play a part, because sometimes persons will come and ask, why don't you close down the country? But then I ask, why don't you put on your mask? Why don't you hand sanitize? Why don't you go and vaccinate, knowing that the vaccination is what has proven scientifically to get us out of this situation, and that the vaccines are safe and effective. And so the solution and the gate towards opening is in all of our hands. We can singularly do what is necessary. And
yes, we can. And talk about closing down the country. The medical chief of staff addressed that quite well today in the context of our positivity rate. Here's what he said.
And the CMO noted that from when we had the outbreak, we've had 30 positive cases, and in the testing, we've done 3,014 tests, which gives us a positivity rate of 0.9. Now, what does that mean? When the positivity rate is high, it means that the virus is circulating in your community. And the World Health Organization recommends that if you have a positivity rate greater than 5%, then it is not time for you to be relaxing or opening up your country. We have a positivity rate of less than 1, That is 0.9%, which means that we are getting a handle on the control of things. And so with this low positivity rate and the very high vaccination rate that we have in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, there should be no retardation to the progress that we have envisaged. And so I don't see this being a hindrance to us moving forward with the opening.
So, no need to panic, my Stray Dog family. The management of this pandemic is in good hands. But let us keep all those in the task force, in the HEOC, those in the front line, immigration, the police, the defense force, those at CASPA, those at NASPA, and all those in the front line, saying good night to Corporal Paris. I missed her on Monday, and Chantel, my dear, and all those in customs, our nurses, let us keep them in our prayers. And my Stray Dog family, don't mind those in the panic factories. They kept quiet for 1 week because they were selling their wares. Wanted $20,000. There's another one wanted $40,000. No, we don't need that. The people know that the best vaccine is the one that's available.
Hoda's question earlier about if you look and if you get a choice, what I tell people all the time is the best vaccine to get is the one that's available to you first, because they're all going to protect you against COVID, which is what we want.
So, we are not going to go back to that movie, as I mentioned earlier. The good, the bad, and the ugly. No, no. We're not going back there. We're not going back to the no-name man. We're not going back to the man whose name comes from the alphabet. Because I said to you, I've had my instructions from the Secretary General of the United Nations when he announced this communication initiative.
I'm announcing a new United Nations Communications Response Initiative to flood the internet with facts and science while countering the growing scourge of misinformation, a poison that is putting even more lives at risk. With common cause for common sense and facts, we can defeat COVID-19 and build a healthier, more equitable, just and resilient.
So I am going to flood Straight Talk with facts, information, and the science against this growing scourge of misinformation coming from these panic factories and the panic factory workers. That's my take for tonight, my Straight Dog family. I went a little overboard in terms of my time, but this is what Straight Talk is all about. There is no fork in the road, as I said to you on my last program. There is no impediment when it comes to speaking here on this Straight Talk program. All you have to do is to talk the truth. So it's now your turn, because I'm going to open the lines. You have a right to free expression in St. Kitts and Nevis and on Straight Talk. All you have to do is to respect yourselves. And to achieve that, to respect others rather, and to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to our concern. Let us try to build goodwill and better friendships, as to ensure that the things we say and or do will be beneficial to all concerned. Let us, my Straight Dog family, in the process of saying and doing those things, ensure that we strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. They promised me that these phones are going to be working tonight. I trust they are. So I'm going to open the lines now and entertain your calls and your emails. As I said to you, respect yourselves and respect others. It is 8 before the I go to the lines, call your line. Hello, caller. Okay, we seem to have missed that caller. I trust it's not a recurrence, but the lines are open, my Straight Dog family. Let's try this call again. Caller, your line. Hello, caller. Yes, caller. Go ahead, caller. It's 7 before the 9 o'clock hour. I'll see if we can get these calls going again tonight. We had our issues, but let's see what happens to these lines again. Don't know what's going wrong. But my Sherlock family, if you're just joining me, we are discussing the performance of the Team Unity administration in spite of the pandemic, this global pandemic. The vaccine rollout in St. Kitts, despite the global shortage of vaccines, have seen more than 40,000 doses administered in the first instance to protect the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. The vaccine rollout started in February of this year, February 22nd to be exact. And as of June the 3rd, some 28,566 doses have been administered in our federation. 62.5% of adults over the age of 18 years have received at least one shot of the AstraZeneca vaccine. In addition to that, 24% or 7,920 adults are now fully vaccinated in St. Kitts and Nevis. By that I mean they have had their 2 doses of that vaccination. But yet, some other people don't want to see that going well. And I learned today, it's not just in St. Kitts and Nevis, it happens elsewhere as well. There are some people, especially those in the opposition or those who support the opposition, don't want the government in office to look good. So they try to tarnish, to upset things, my Straight Dog family. And that's what's happening even as I speak in my beloved country. But here's what. I'm going to try the line one more time. Caller, you are live. Are you there, caller? Are you there, caller? Okay. Seem to be having some difficulty again with that line, but no matter what, Straight Talk will continue, my family, because we're speaking about this pandemic and we are speaking about those who want to spread misinformation. And as I said to you before, the Secretary General spoke about this information or misinformation, which is another pandemic we are fighting worldwide. And in St. Kitts and Nevis, it is no difference. We keep fighting misinformation, and we have to expose them when we hear them coming to the airwaves and trying this panic approach, panic attack on unsuspecting people. Some talking about fork in the road, but there's no fork in the road. Things are going well in St. Kitts and Nevis. Here's what the UN Secretary General said.
The COVID-19 pandemic, the most challenging crisis we have faced since the Second World War, we are also seeing another epidemic, a dangerous epidemic of misinformation. Around the world, people are scared, they want to know what to do and where to turn for advice. This is a time for science and solidarity. Yet, the global misinfodemic is spreading. Harmful health advice and snake oil solutions are proliferating. Falsehoods are filling the airwaves. Wild conspiracy theories are infecting the internet. Hatred is going viral, stigmatizing and vilifying people and groups. The world must unite against this disease too. And the vaccine is trust. First, trust in science. And I salute the journalists and others fact-checking the mountain of misleading stories and social media posts. Social media companies must do more to root out hate and harmful assertions about COVID-19. Second, trust in institutions, grounded in responsible, evidence-based governance and leadership. And trust in each other. Mutual respect and upholding human rights must be our compass in navigating this crisis. Together, let's reject the lies and nonsense out there.
Yes, together, we're going to reject the lies and the nonsense and the misinformation, wherever it comes from, whichever panic factory it comes from in St. Kitts and Nevis. Let's try this line one more time again. Caller, you're live.
Good evening, Patches. Hope all is well.
Yes.
Your line is messing up, but it's okay. Anyhow, I've been listening to you for the past. How are you doing, Patches?
I am peaceful. God has been good to me.
Good, brother. I've been listening to you for the past week. You know, do your vaccination drive. And what you're doing is quite noble. It's commendable. But you are up against a mafia Labour Party that will do anything to destroy St. Kitts and play on the ignorance of the people. Okay? This so-called party that employed their, grammar school elites and oligarchs to rob and brazenly lie to the people of St. Kitts, they're bad. They're bad people. They're Nazis. However, bear in mind, the people they must be educated, but no government, none, dare force the people to take the job, okay? Educate them, but no government dare force the people to take the job, okay? But what you're doing, because in Antigua, the government and the opposition, they seem in accord on this vaccination issue. You don't see the politicizing of this vaccine as you see in St. Kitts. But then again, Antiguans are patriotic people, unlike Kittitians. So, it's sad, but this is what's happening. Now, because, imagine doctors, federal doctors getting up and talking down the vaccine like, yeah, you cannot force people, but you have to educate them. But the ignorance you see coming out to these people who call themselves doctor is sad. They're politicizing this thing, and it's sad. Anyhow, but you in unity must, bear some of the responsibility because you have allowed this mafia elite Labour Party to rob and thief like monkeys with impunity. People have been destroyed. You say you're going to do things. You always up on Greenland saying you're going to do this and do that. You're not doing it. So they figure you go along with everything, along with their TV. Okay? We don't want to hear it. Now, another thing. Gratcher talked to you. He warned you all about this tourism stuff. And he told you about tourism. You know this story. And what the tourism have done for St. Kitts and Nevis is to turn our women into whores and gamblers. It's a fact. We have got to move away from this tourism. Okay? This part of it. But the tourism thing. But Antigua has been in tourism patches, into tourism, for twice as long as St. Kitts and Nevis. And the place is still a dump. But, you know, I've been listening to you, even, you know, I say, ad infinitum, but you've been doing a good job. You should be commended, you know. You should be. But you have it's an uphill battle. When you see doctors coming out and saying and going again and talking about this stuff, these are bad people, man. But you got to just keep educating the people. But you don't dare force anybody to take this job. But you're doing a good job. You should be commended for it, okay? All the best to you. But you must do the right stuff. Nobody from the Douglas government has gone to jail. You all know what they did. Okay? Anyhow, nice talking to you, Patrick. Have a good one.
Have a good one as well, my dear brother. Let's go back to the lines. Let's see if this is working. Call your line.
Yes, good night, Mr. Liburd. Yeah.
Good night, sir.
Yes, every time, you know, you turn on the radio, to your talk show or any of the other talk show, everybody keep telling the government they got to move away from tourism. Move away from tourism to what? We had sugar agriculture, and they done with it because the government of the day say that it wasn't profitable. Right? When we had all the lands available to us, the government had all the lands available to us. Sugar agriculture wasn't profitable then. What else could think is good to now be as big as tourism or big as sugar was then? Because everybody talk, oh, you gotta move away from tourism, you gotta move. Nobody come up with no other alternatives. They just say move away from tourism to what? They talk about they talking about the ganja thing now. Even if you introduce that, think it cannot produce enough ganja to sustain the country. And people need to get real. And think it is not the only country in the world that relies or use tourism as one of its sustained methods. Even the big America, England, Canada, all of them depends on tourism. Yes, they might have other things that to balance out their thing because they're much bigger than we do. But when people are talking every time saying, oh, the government need to move away from tourism, move around tourism to do what? What are you gonna do? You want to take the seawater and sell it to other people? Other country got seawater too. Well, people need to get real, Mr. Liburd. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Okay. I thought I'll try to engage that caller. But I somehow agree with you in terms of the moving away completely. I would prefer to substitute diversify tourism because we can go into or advance educational tourism, for example, does quite well in other places. It's doing well in St. Kitts because it's holding the fort now in terms of the Ross University School of Medicine and the Ramesh, what's the school's name there? The other medical school there, and also introduce medical tourism. Well, that's another option. Caller, you're live.
Yes. Good evening, Patches. What I want to
my
say,
dear brother.
What I want to say that what's going on here with this line, it seems like it's a sabotage, but just bear with it and try and get your points what to get you. Now, Patches, when first let me congratulate the government on this anniversary what they're having, on Sunday at the Methodist Church and everything. And that's good for Team Unity. The Prime Minister Team Unity also including your passage. You might not be there, but your presence will be there. And let me explain something to you. The government have an obligation to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Just like when they had Cockabay and Yaz and Son, and nobody was healing to what the government was saying. They build a fortress for them, and they put them in there until they cool the Yaz and the Cockabay and them things. So the government still have an obligation. The government ain't force nobody to take no vaccination, but the government have an obligation to stop people from going in certain places without tests. You can't have a man working in the police force and in the hospital and a man going in there and he ain't going to get checked, but he going in there got Lyme and different things like that, and he got no tests and different things. He just spread the disease and all that up and down the place. You know, people it should be more conscious-minded on what they're going on with. They're highly educated, and they're behaving like they never went to no kind of school at all. And they're not better. They're not better. They got all kind of degrees to the name, but they're going on like they never went to school at all. You understand me? And then when you open your mouth and talk, they want to tell you how dumb you is, and how stupid you is, and how big head you is, and all them kind of thing. But they go in on the radio every day and got it as a religious thing. You understand me? Today I see as the Prime Minister done his press conference and so on, they start on him. You know, for what reason, I don't know. I don't know where is the moral of these people. Where the moral is. You know, and where the dignity of the people them who control these radio stations and licensing them. You know, because you can't got a radio. Just say Mr. Bratcher only wanted one radio station at the time. You know, he don't want a television station. He just wanted a radio station. Right? And only one he wanted. Now you got 1,001 of them in St. Kitts. And some of them just talking nonsense every day. You know, provoking the people, the good citizens of St. Kitts, and making the foreigners them get scared who coming into the country. Preaching the nonsense. And the men and women and the people them who own these radio stations has not putting down the foot to say, well, boy, this license belongs to me. You cannot do this kind of thing because the license is up for your renewal in such and such a time. So I think what the government now start to do, who want to talk, but they need to start drafting laws to make these kind of things. And Patrick, you have a nice weekend, and the family and everybody for you and son, and the Prime Minister and the Cabinet and so on. All the best for the city. If I get in. Okay, God bless you, sir.
God bless you. The King of
Hi.
Call you live.
I'll hold the line.
Yeah. Turn the equipment down.
Sorry. Hello.
Yes.
Good night.
Yes, go ahead. Good night. Good night.
Yes, I just wanted to say that vaccines save lives. And the vaccine that is available in St. Kitts and Nevis is the AstraZeneca. There were some persons that I would hear on Fridays saying that it was bad, a lot of things. And surprisingly, they changed. They said that the AstraZeneca might actually be the best vaccine, but only because that it is cheap and that the other vaccines get sponsored with millions of dollars, billions, by the U.S. government. And interesting that in some quarters, those same vaccines they get knocked down too. Some people say that these vaccines, they have tracking devices. Not so. Not at all. And it might even seem so, because one lady said that she moved from Florida to California, and by the time she got to California, somebody was calling her about taking the second dose, and she didn't inform the person about that. So it would seem like there are conspiracies and all that. But put those aside. If we did not have the vaccine, the world would not look as promising as it is for us to move into a state of normalcy. And St. Kitts will get there. Those who are now have COVID, they will be healed. And hopefully, people will be encouraged to go and get vaccinated. There is no perfect vaccination. And when the dust has settled, it might actually be that the AstraZeneca has saved the day. It is safe, effective, cheap, and easy to store. And it might be that one factor, more than any other vaccine, that might help bring the world to some sort of normalcy, because countries after countries, most available, everywhere in the world, millions are taking it. And like anything else, one or two might have reactions. And like anything that's cheaper, people like to put it down, as one of our good doctors that I usually hear on a Friday would say. It's cheap, so people put it down, but it's effective. And I hope, that we would put all the fears aside. If we said to people, who would want to die from the coronavirus? Well, I said, not me. We wanted to, who would want a family member to die from coronavirus? And one would say, not me. And why am I talking like this about dying? Well, that's the reality of it. It's actually a life and death situation. We have choices between tamarind jam and sugar cake, and even between colors, maybe red and yellow or blue and green. But this is a lot more serious than all of those things. It's life and death. And every day we hear some encouragement about taking the vaccine, and I hope that people would heed that. Just because it's serious enough. It's life and death. So people, just take the vaccine, secure yourself, protect yourself and others. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well said, my straight dog family. We go back to the lines.
Yes. Good evening, parties. You call us, them let's take too long, let them go and get in, and you start late. So people are going to cut the toy short. Anyway, what I want to say, right? The bus run them, they get 9 passengers that they could able to pay. But I was saying, that you always got to drop down the insurance, because if you run in a bus and you ain't making no money, how government go on the money? Just like when you live in a house. For government want this amount of money. Yes, it's the money, but if you now open a lot of money, they're supposed to share part with you, with whatever you got. And I want Ed, the bathroom in the cemetery, because I got a lot of concrete to do the concrete sidewalk, and I could put bathroom inside the cemetery. Because all of us are citizens, and all of us supposed to work for the country, that we could keep up the country. So we want a 2-bathroom, a man one and a woman one. And the houses them, they say, at Wellington Road, full of amol. And I hear the other minister say he can get them out soon. But looking at the factory them where he calling out, he need to get a new paper with the reading, because some of the factory them don't shut down and some of the factory them lay off a lot of people. So let me get you update, and you have a good evening. See you.
Good evening, my dear sister. She never ceased to amaze me. That's my good Labour friend from down west. Caller, you live.
Good evening, Mr. Liburd. When I was hanging up, I think I heard you try to engage me in something. Hello?
I was trying to ask you if you are in the tourism industry.
If I already do that?
I was saying, I was asking you if you work in the industry, tourism.
Yes, I do. I have a little business that I do there, but it's not only because I work there, Mr. Liburd. Why I think tourism is the biggest industry all over the world, and if not all, most of the countries in the world benefit from tourism. Even when we have even the cricket the same cricket that is the CPL cricket that is a part of tourism.
That's the point I was making.
Mm-hmm. So when you hear people talk about move over from tourism, they're looking at tourism as just a cruise ship coming into St. Kitts or a plane bringing in people. That is the music festival that they usually have. That is a part. That is tourism. That is tourism. The Rast. I think I heard you mention about the Rast thing. That is tourism also. Because and even when we carnival time and we have a lot of the Kittitians and Nevisians coming back home who are not living here. That is tourism. So when you hear people talking about the government need to done away with or move away from tourism, come on, people need to just stop being a parrot and just stop and just repeating what you hear other people say. Cause when the country done with tourism, what is the other industry that the country could move to, or what else can the country move to that could sustain the country the way tourism is doing? Tell me, nobody's saying that. Everybody move. They hear somebody and attack you. Move it done with tourism, and they call into done with tourism. The government need to do what the government what they need to do is to maybe find something else to add to it, or the marketing strategy that they use. The marketing strategy that they use, they need to probably go back and look at that and do a different type of marketing strategy. I mentioned something already that we're in the U.S. have a lot of Kittitians living in the U.S. all around the world. Use the people who are in the Kittitians and Nevisians who are in the countries already, and use them to market your country, to do the tourism, the marketing for the country. By doing pamphlets and stuff like that, by the different consulate and embassies that we have around the world, and use the embassy to find your people in the countries that they are, to do the marketing for you, not just wait until they have some trade show and tourism go up there with 6 people, and then you hear tourism have to rent a space, the amount of money that they use to rent a space to get in one of these trade show that they have. Because the trade show them is only about the people who are putting on the trade show for them to make money, not really to benefit the country when the thing. And they know that the Ministry of Tourism, the people who are there knows that. So you got to do something different, not done with tourism. So people need to stop being a parrot and just continue to repeat what they're hearing other people say. Thank you again, Mr. Liburd.
Thank you very much. Caller, let's be kind and gentle. Let's go back to the lines.
Yeah,
yes,
I want to say something to radio parties.
Turn your radio down or your equipment down. Turn your radio or your equipment down.
Turn the radio. Everybody talking about taking the vaccine. I would like to know, those who are not taking the vaccine, what problem they are to anybody? I mean, they're talking as if like unvaccinated have the virus walking around with and infecting people. Everywhere you go, people have to be vaccinated to go to this game or to this thing. when unvaccinated people cannot go? What problem there be to people? You know?
But yeah, of course, you're going to expose.
What's that?
You are going to expose to the vaccine.
But they say the same thing. Don't you think the vaccine could be cook at the virus too?
Yes.
So, I mean, I know that vaccinated people catching the virus too. So I don't see, and they have to get the same medical attention just like the unvaccinated. It's the same process they have to go through. Everybody. So I mean, why we let them not to do is not to force people. I mean, people will take it if they want. I don't like hear when people losing their job because they're not taking the vaccine and them stuff there. And I think the government supposed to step in on that, not letting people lose their job because talk to companies about them thing there. That's my take, eh?
Thank you very much, caller. I think we would agree they are not to force one, but to encourage them. Let's go back to the lines. Call your line.
Good night, Patrick. This is Dumpling.
Good night, my dear.
Patrick.
How are you, Dumpling?
I'm going for me second shot on Monday. And I will talk again on the radio to you. Because the labor people them coming here up and down saying the house. Me tell you that when me get the vaccine, me throw me stick down the health center and all kind of line comes in. There's lie also. You hear me tell you that when I take the vaccine in my hand, I couldn't move my hand. And if you got the clip, play it. And then how I couldn't wear this and I couldn't wear that. Man, I'm throwing me stick because they ain't give me my foot. They give me my hand. And I move my hand. I could move my hand now. And I'm going for the second shot in the other hand. And then I'm good to go. And I hear you saying, playing a clip, but Dr. Wilkerson don't give 10 to people free. Dr. Wilkerson is the cheapest doctor right now. $70 when you go to see him. And 2013, when I went in the hospital, he looked after me and he didn't charge me a cent. And I was in theater for almost 4 to 5 hours, which when them did think I did in there. But he looked after me properly and give me a flat belly. My belly and my bum is the same equal. So, Lord, let us give the man a chance and stop chat them load of stupidness. He's a doctor, he know what he's doing. Dr. Sebastian, send me to him. And after Dr. Sebastian is he and Dr. Jefford. So that's all I have to think about Dr. Jefford too, you know, but Lord, give the people and this is saying it's the farm, there's 4 people. Give them a chance, man. Me ain't bashing nobody, but keep off the doctor them name. They know what they're doing. Because this sickness here is frightening. Not because I got me land up there by the governor. I asking God to give me long life to see. And they're going on like his unity vaccine, like the Prime Minister has a factory here. Dr. Wilkerson got a factory here. The woman got a factory here. Eh? They know what they're doing. I got this politics with this thing. And then I said, in a board, you kill people and all kind of thing. If you're killing people, the people that will come on and say we got nearly about 100 dead for how they're saying about the vaccine ain't good. That is, this is dumpling again. So if you got the first step with me, when I talk, play it all for me. See you.
Okay, Dumpling. Whatever you want, you'll get. Let's go back to the lines. Call your line.
Patrick, good night.
Hello. Good night, my dear.
Good night. Good night, Patrick, and good night to everyone. Patrick?
Sounds like my warrior from the east.
Yes, warrior from the east. Jackson Unity, anything, call me anything. The caller wants to know what problem there be to people when they take the vaccine. There is problem to the doctor and the nurses in the hospital. That's when they don't want to listen to the words of the people and they go up there. The doctors and the nurses, them also could pick up the COVID from them and get sick. And they don't have nobody to take care of their family neither. But that is one of them, one of them I hear saying. And you play a clip about the man when he said he's done. I hear him laugh. He said he ain't had nothing to say about the vaccination. The moment he ended the show with it, and he said he was going somewhere after he don't not get the vaccination, you know. He want to take it to the patching. He said he and a fellow were planning to go somewhere, but if stable or somewhere, but they tell him they got to be citizens. But he could take it in St. Kitts. It ain't nothing to fear and shame about. But you see, we like to judge people. So now he can't judge nobody and say, oh, they said it and they gone back and the word, because he do the same thing. You know? And I listen to a radio station here and the host is playing a clip with a doctor. And the doctor was saying that the Prime Minister forcing people to take the vaccine and they're educating the people. And they're threatening people about their job, losing their job if they don't take the vaccination. And they're calling people what anti-vaccine something. So I had to call him and I said, so, Prime Minister Harris ain't forcing nobody to take the vaccine. The CMO them every week. I don't know how that I get to Antarctica trying to educate the people, but you know what? Politics in it, Patrick. They're putting too much of politics in this thing. He's a doctor, and I hear him, you know, saying that Dr. Timothy Harris ain't going to change. Dr. Timothy Harris don't have to change, you know, as long as he change and do something positive for the people, them, that's what we want. Because when Premier Dante says the best thing ever happened to Nevis is the team unity government, what that be? That's a change. When he pay up the national debt and give people $500 a month, that's a change again, Patches. When he bring the young man them together and stop killing and mother balling and they could unite with one another, Charleston, Nevis, Ginger and whatever, St. Paul, Sadler's, Newtown, that's a change again. Eh? So what he wants about Timothy Harris now got change. The best thing Dr. Douglas ever to do is when he won Timothy Harris, throw him out. You hear? A bad wind never blow. And that is why we should glad for Timothy Harris, because trust me, think it will never be what he be today. The man is a good man. Good. From his heart. I don't like really get the next one like him because I ain't see Sean perform yet. But whenever Sean starts to perform, I think he'll make a good Prime Minister too. I will give him credit too. I will ask for 5 more years for him. Patches, I want everybody to be safe. And that is why maybe he can win a seat in number 8, you know. Because that ain't a change. Because his good friend tell him, boy, if people them no want, you don't want Labour. That ain't a change. That's a damn shame. Trying all the time he can win a seat. And you're trying to make the Prime Minister look bad. Eh? The Prime Minister, he has to encourage people to take the vaccine. Who don't want to take it, don't take it, you know. But you can't want to take it and want to go up and down in people's business place up your one thing. You want your body, you don't want to take it, that's your business. But when you want to go mingle between people, and I hear one of them and the same one saying, oh, if I take the vaccination, what's going to happen to me and my children them? Who's going to take care of them? But when you get sick, and you pick it up and you go to the hospital, I must remember the nurses them in the hospital have to face the music too. They also have family too. Who's going to take care of them and the family if anything happens to them? You know you can't have it both ways. Patches, have a safe and a blessed night. Prime Minister, you don't have to change. You make a lot of changes in St. Kitts, and that is what we want. Positive change. And Patches, good night. Prime Minister, you keep on doing the good work. Bye, Patches. If you get back in with anything, I'll come back. Bye. Good night.
Thank you very much, my Stray Dog family. Yes, and we ought to commend the task force, the Health Emergency Operation Committee, the frontline healthcare workers, our community nurses, those along the corridor, those in law enforcement, immigration, customs, the bus drivers, the taxi drivers, the transportation workers, I should say, and those in the hospitality and tourism industry. We must say a big, big thank you to them. And we asked ourselves, why this one? This one promised he was not going to say anything more. He said this.
Because I am facilitating open discussion about the vaccine and about the COVID-19 and about the way the authorities is going about it and rolling it out. I have been labeled as people have questioned my love for my children, my love for my country, and Patches, who is an ambassador to the UN of St. Kitts and Nevis, had a whole show trying to convince his small group of people who listens to him religiously every week that somehow EK is evil incarnate. And so I have taken the position to no longer be a part of the conversation because I don't want to continue to come under the fire from these people. And if people are going to take what I am doing and what I'm saying and twist it and turn it to suit their own political agenda, well, I am no longer going to give them fuel for their fire. You see the banter on the Freedom Wall every day. Who ain't calling me ugly, calling me this, calling me that?
Well, you wonder what changed his mind. I understand that some of them was selling for a price. Some entertainers, some selling a service for $20,000, some reach as far as $40,000, and they were rejected. I wonder who sold a service to the government to try and put a message out for the government. Oh my, that's the question we're gonna ask. My Sherlock family, it's 26 before 10. We go back to the lines.
Yes. Good evening, Practice. I could say like a thing about labor, but labor can't say nothing about I and whoever and the talk show. They're good looking for their own self. God make everybody good looking for their own selves. So I will stop that to ugly man make them the better husband. See you.
Let's go back to the lines, caller. Call your line.
Greetings in the name of our great African ancestors, especially the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey and Queen Nzinga. A blessed evening, my beloved African brother. How are you?
I am peaceful, my brother. You?
I'm good, brother. Brother, let me say, man. Brother, I never know you had such jealous and envious people in St. Kitts Nevis, brother. See, it's all about jealousy, brother. Don't worry with them, Don't be distracted. I know you are not, brother. They're just jealous. Of course not. Man. They're just jealous, you beloved, because you have done great things for your country in entertainment, in business, brother, in as a civil service, as a politician, especially as a politician, one of the hardest working minister in the history of St. Kitts in such a short time. And it's because of jealousy. And who want to mad with me? Beloved, your demise was orchestrated by some people in the People's Action Movement. Brother Nabu said that. Who want to mad at a business? I don't care. I talk the truth. I know as an ambassador, beloved. Beloved, it is jealousy and envy, man. Come on. That little boy over there, right? The little fat little boy over at Sugar Money Station, I tell people, shut up. Who the heck you think he is? Dr. Wilkinson, have done a great job. Great things for his country and his people. Dr. Laws. Tremendous job for our country and our people. Fat boy, what you have done was play some jump up music. I'm not getting into island nonsense because I'm a Pan-Africanist. And I welcome any brother or sister into the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis, brother. But they got to contribute and they must behave themselves and live in peace and unity with the African sisters and brothers. I'm not in this island nonsense. You know, but the boy, he's past the place. The most popular show, the most talk about show in the Federation. Beloved, your show straight talk about our religious. But little, you damn forward, boy. You no pass the place. This is the most listened program on radio in the Federation. So stop your nonsense. Wheel and come again. But the practice, don't waste much time on non-entity like that fat boy over there. But continue to listen, keep up the great works, and don't be distracted, my beloved brother. You have done great for your greatness, for your people, and for your country. And none of them, right, who try to criticize you, beloved. Even if they live for the next billion years, they can contribute as much as you have contributed in your time, beloved brother. And you still have more to go, beloved. Who want to madman? I talk the truth. And you will always be my brother as long as you continue to do good things for your people, African people. I will stand by you, whether come hell or high water. And who don't want to think that is up to them, beloved brother. Me not no political tribalism with nobody. Ain't no political tribalism with anyone. If you do good as a politician, I support you, beloved. If you don't, I blaze verbal fire and criticize you to the max. So my beloved brother, continue to listen. Keep up the great works, Pan-Africanism and Paris. My beloved brother, have a blessed weekend, beloved.
Thanks a lot for your commendation. I'm humbled, my brother. I've just tried to do the best I can. Caller, you're live.
Good night, Patches. Good night.
Good night, Mr. Politics. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm here just hanging in on my landing, just listening to the program with some fresh breeze. The only thing is some rain. You got to pray for that. Anyway, Patches, first, I want to thank God for Team Unity. That has brought us so far. And I want to wish them all the best for their second term in office. Going for the second term in office. And I think they have done well in the past. And they will continue to do for the people of this federation of St. Kitts Nevis and those in the diaspora. Patches, you know, in the... We're calling him again, Lord. We're calling him again.
Which name?
The name, the talk show. You give the name.
The Panic Factory.
Oh, yeah. Patches, you know, in the Panic Factory. You know that in the Panic Factory, you got doctors, you got lawyers, you got misleaders, and misleaders, politicians, and all those things there. So, nobody expect to get nothing from the Panic Factory because they're just blowing human doom. Patches, yeah. When I listen to a doctor like Dr. Joe, who's supposed to be a doctor and one of our best doctors here, I made to understand. I never got to him yet. And get so caught up in this politics and in the crisis of this corona that plaguing the whole world, killing off so much people. And Dr. Wilkinson, Dr. Laws, and the government and the task force is doing a wonderful job.
to get this COVID and get the people to take the vaccine. You hear all kind of nonsense doctor do preaching and chatting. When I listen to them, you know, I talk to Canvas already, right? And he gonna just break off Canvas up. When I listen to him, right, he sound very boasting, he sound very bragging. And listen, you know, we ain't one back that kind of politics as no leader in this country again. Because to me, anytime you open the mouth, he sounds just like a farmer leader. And I believe that he only putting himself more down in the political ditch. If this unity government continue, do what they got to do to people, for the ordinary man and woman in this federation, and they stick together, for in the next election coming up, Dr. Joe will be a political outcast. You understand? People educated one way, but I believe common sense our rule your mentality and control your mind. Not because you could read and maybe you study doctor and all those things. The amount of ignorance I hear coming from him out with this COVID. Talk about Dr. Harris forcing people to take vaccine and all these kind of things. The Prime Minister is doing just about other Prime Minister in other countries than doing patches. Telling people go out and take the vaccine because the vaccine gonna do whatever to the health. So, but we're fighting for them as long as this unity government stick together and go back in an election. Look at Dr. to them, they're going to be outcast. He wants to say, come a leader. I believe he's the one going on. So pompous and so boasting that I believe that he's going to be the leader, you know. But we ain't want a leader like Douglas again. And that comes like a intention to be like him. Just going and chat everything as a doctor, suppose he try to do better and say better, talking all kind of nonsense to the educated. Okay then, Patrick, you have a wonderful night. God bless.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful night as well. You go straight back to the lines. Call your life.
Ian Patrick Liburd, my friend. Brother Nabo.
My brother.
Brother Nabo, my brethren in New York. Is a lot of them trying to challenge the integrity. A good man, a poor man. A man who come to the roots, you know. A man who did so well. And as you rightly said, Nabo, none of them, not in the lifetime, we will never see no small politician from none the ghetto of them perform like this guy. When I in the circus and hear man challenging a man like Patches integrity because he gets the ambassador job to the United Nations. But some of them work with Patches from years, from youth, in the farms, them in the private sector. They say they're bright. The bright and the most brightest people in the world. But they wouldn't put themselves on a ticket because the backbone wasn't. The backbone wasn't doing them. Patches, just test straight, my brother. Me know, other people know. A lot who don't like phone and talk shows, they know your contribution in this country. And men like them can't shut jam down in this country. None of them. Me know what you do around here. I'm sorry, man, got all them old man and back a step. See one, Victor one, my friend, Buttard. Melbourne, Manasseh Moat. Walk, all them guys, they know. God bless them. May the soul rest in peace in the cemetery, do you? They should have hear. Because they know long time, you know. Round this private form, what you were doing for poor people. So none of them to come around jam and chatting and stupidness about Patches and Liburd. Not one. Patches have served this country well. In sports, in entertainment, in band with the great Joy Ross, in the private sector, in government, and in another ambassador, we don't see great things. Now, boy, you say something, but you're right, you know. But I want them to know the cost to that. It's a cost to that. Patches, I want you to do something for me tonight before I left here. I want you to go on Win FM website. They had a nice show last night. They didn't know so much brilliant kitchen doctors in the diaspora. Infectionist doctors dealing with the COVID in main hospital in New York State. They had a show last night. And if I didn't listen in that, my God, I could not believe where we getting down here. And the sensitivity to what's going on down here with the propaganda and local people. What you call it, the show? The something factory?
The panic factory.
The panic factory. Oh my God, that's one for the media. That's a scotch, yo. The panic factory. Why look like man done a panic and ain't so close yet? But look, let me show you something here, Liburd. Before you left here tonight, play one of them doctors, one of them kitchen doctors. I think one of them is a Martin. But they talked so nice last night. And so much elders call me and want to know who they is. And I got to congratulate Bacchus tonight to getting them on a panel like that to educate the public and educate the youngsters. But ZZ Media is supposed to get a copy and play that. I call it and the guy there, the chairman of the board, Hanley, to get on to ZZ and let the manager play that tape from we own last night. Patches, I felt so nice when I hear these guys put the resume on the table and telling petitions what they're doing in the diaspora. And man down here try to bring down the country. Man, the only thing left why is big. I come in gun because I can't stop nothing. Dr. Timothy Harris, so straight. We got you back. Have a good night, Patches. I will be back. Because I got a scorcher to come back with. Have a good night, my brother.
Have a good night, my brother. You know, I don't know how much remember, how many of us remember Dudu Bim and Charlie, Breadfruit and Govans and some of those people. You remember Govans would stand by the Royal Bank and so they waiting for his money? Oh my, let's go back to the lines. Call your line.
Good evening, Patches.
Good evening, sir.
There is something I need to address because it's a height of nastiness. Now, there is a neighbor of mine who babysits a child for a police officer. And every time that child messes in the pampers, she ties it in a plastic bag and throws it up on the railway track. Then here comes the dogs, scatter them all over the place and bringing some into my yard. There's almost a whole year of dealing with this thing. So I confronted the neighbor yesterday. And she told me she's right. And she started cussing me, and so we was back and forth in the thing. But what I'm saying here, Patches, what kind of person throws a plastic bag of shitty pamper on the railway track? So I'm appealing to the health department and whoever else listening to this program to come and check this out. The address is Sanders Village, Back Street, St. Kitts. My number is 660-7153. Call me and I'll show you and tell you who the culprit is. Because that's a height of nastiness. Can't take it no more. I don't want them people there in my neighborhood. And that's my input, Patches.
Very much. Well, you got your story. I'm sure you should stick with that. Let's go back to the lines. Call your line. Hello, caller. Okay, let's take this email in the meanwhile. I think St. Kitts and Nevis need to have an allergist doctor for persons with severe allergies who cannot take the vaccine because we are allergic to the PEG in the vaccines. Because persons who are allergic to the PEG in the coronavirus vaccines, though no fault of their own, persons with severe allergies who are allergic to PEG in the vaccines, they should not be excluded from society and sports events. You are making persons who cannot take the vaccines because of the PEG and medical conditions who cannot take the vaccines feel like outcasts to society. I wonder what that PEC means, though, my sweet little family. This message reads a little bit off track, but we're taking anything anyway. Dr. Patches, Liburd, Ian, medical tourism, silver tourism, all these are useful, and lots of factories and lots of casinos. In fact, Conway Beach needs to be like Las Vegas, with lots of high-rise condos, all with casinos. Even at Deep Bay Beach, build lots of condos and casinos with a few piers, so people can come in from Sabre, Stacia, and St. Martin. Reads this email. This other email reads, shame on you. Patches, you're wrong not to play the full clip of the DJ. He said Dr. Wilkerson, Dr. Laws, PM Harris, and all the others should shut up and let Sebastian take the lead. But you won't play that part because it doesn't fit your agenda. There's no agenda, my brother. You don't play all because some tips are too long. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live.
Patches, good night to you, my brother. Long time I haven't spoke with you, but you know how I'm Moto, who used to play with you in jazz brass, brother. I wouldn't even mention my name. I'm too popular, right? I got to see that you're doing a lot of things for the country. You know, people don't always talk. Use nobody for people to talk about. What about Jesus? When they talk about him and he was doing good. So just keep your head high. Give God thanks for all the things he has done for you, and you'll be all right. Have a good night. God bless.
Good night, Moto. Thanks for the input. You know, some just increase. Even sometimes his big West Indian fans would want him out. Everybody want him out because why? He's such a good batsman and ready to break records. Caller, you're live.
Mr. Patel, good night.
The Bible man. Good night.
I say tonight I am not going to go on, but I remember something. One day, I put on a radio station, and when I put on the radio station, I heard the person say, the host say, we been going to St. Martin, you know. Some about because we want the vaccine. Because they have different vaccine down there. But you have to be a native. Just what the man say. So when you don't come down about the vaccine and tell people not to come, you're waiting on Cuban vaccine. Now you are feel like a fish out of water. Well, when I listen to him, I said to myself, what a man sow, and that he reap, and the man that got my God in him. One time me hear he crucify the Christian them. And sometimes when I tell myself, me hear people talk, that's what I want to hear for myself. The man no got no God in him. So Patrick don't take on the man. The Bible says in Isaiah, the wicked are like a troubled sea. The man troubled. So the man must fall like a thing. The man away in the bodies and found one thing.
in the man know all the mess he done make. And all the lie that he done tell her and wipe him out by him, the man there for the family factory. He hit Mr. Harris to his guts. I know that man hit Mr. Harris, so if he could bring down Mr. Harris tomorrow morning, he will bring him down. He had a next one from St. Paul. They hit Harris to the guts. And so, every time they talk, they want to bring down the country. But hey, they never gotta watch them every day. In Psalms chapter 8, God said, He judged the righteous, but He hate wickedness. So, let he go ahead. But he did that again. When God me the hearing, when he in his skin like a dove facades. And so, you better come on. And grudge man grudge you. And grudge grudge you. So, you know how you head. He gonna fall. Right now, he put a boil in. They say, when you dig a ditch, the same ditch that you dig in, you're falling in. And he been digging ditch for the government every single day. And one of these days, he gonna drop in the same ditch. Malachi and Haman be a gallop for Malachi. And the same gallows that Haman built. He hung on the same gallows. Well, Mr. Patrick, you take care and have a pleasant night.
Have a pleasant night, my dear brother John and Streeter.
Good night, Patrick.
Good night.
This is Dumpling.
How are you, Dumpling?
I tell you about 2 months ago that certain people feel like this corona is unity method and all the ministers them involved in it and the doctors and the nurses. But they realize that they're like scientists people on the radio and they're encouraging people to don't take it. But wait till Cuba send and all kind of thing. And now he reach here to kill out scientists people. To kill us out, you know. They're like us. That is I can't understand scientists people. They don't know how we illiterate. And it look like scientists people look like they suffer too. Because something to help the federation mind. The children them can't get it. The pregnant mothers them can't get it. And these sensible people who got a load of diploma could let Dumpling go down the clinic and get your first shot. I will want the last film me like to see next month to go for me other one. I tell me to and them make sure they go take it, you know. Because Patrick, Los Harmony give me my vaccine when I was between 11 going on 12 down the health center. And me dead. And it was for chicken pox, all kind of pox, all kind of sickness going on. And Mr. This school children had to take it. And the first boy, which if you ever go on, you know, Patrick, this is Dumpling, love you, see you. May I not less to say. What Timothy I'm going down your meeting and this is next month.
Follow your life. Thank you for holding.
Yes, Patrick, I take me head. You supposed to know what the woman mean in biology, the pieces in biology, in the vaccine. Because you're supposed to be an educated man. So you're supposed to look it up when you go home. And proof of it, if nobody really make up their mind to take the vaccine, you all can't force them because a lot of people are sending their own people who go take vaccine. But people still are telling people don't get vaccine. So there's a lot of things with this corona. And I want a loan from you. Because I want to do my own business who help. People will not into my house before all come and take it away. And plus of it, when we got to say what we got to say on the radio, we work hard for our money, and we got to say what we got to say. But some of us go sleep with it in the stomach, and we dead with a heart attack. Have a good night. See you.
Have a good night, my dear. I'll take one more call before we wrap tonight. If there's a call, I'll make this my final call if the caller can be guided by the rules of brevity at this time. Caller, you're live.
What is? If the native, they are going to go take the vaccine and learn from here. And they're going to take the vaccine because they know what the corona is all about. And they're more protecting the country and the people of the country, man, our people here. Because look, our people refuse to go take the vaccine. And the COVID reaching the school. And parents, nurse, teachers, and all them there, what they don't want to go take the vaccine. And the native them away from here, the non-national them away from here. Go take the vaccine because they love people, they love the country, and they want to see this country go because they don't think it is a godless country. They don't want to see nothing happen to it. Casilama, when you're not going to keep off the radio. That is good night.
Yes, good night, my dear brother. I'll make this my real final call. Caller? Okay, I was gonna just bite the bullet and take one more call before we make room for the mayor of St. Paul. Let's see if this one is ready. Call you live. Here's what, my time is done and I'm gonna run. My Straight Dog family, I raised issue tonight when the Prime Minister spoke at his press conference about the movie industry, a new movie-making industry in St. Kitts and Nevis. Remember that?
And their professors would patronize. Movie making will be consolidated in St. Kitts and Nevis. And interestingly, we have been able to host one principally at the Park Hyatt facility below deck, and the anticipation is that 6 will be produced by MSR Productions. When we asked Philip why he had chosen St. Kitts and Nevis as the top place to begin the filming of his movies, he said he was pointed to Barbados, and indeed he was in Barbados when he finalized his decision. He had been pointed to the Dominican Republic, which has an excellent record in film production, and he had been pointed elsewhere. What was the deciding factor, he said to us, was our success in the management of COVID-19.
I'm sorry about that. Yes, the success, that's my bad. The success in the movie making industry, or rather the attraction for the movie making industry was our success in the management of COVID. But this movie making industry project reminded me of a movie, as I'm sure many of us remember, in our what we call small days. It was the good, the bad, and the ugly. Remember Clint Eastwood? But the enigma or the person or the mysterious part of this movie, my Stray Dog Family, that was difficult to understand, and the centerpiece or the most important part of the good, the bad, and the ugly was the character called Blondie, also known as a man with no name, who was portrayed by Clint Eastwood. And this movie, the good, the bad, and the ugly, reminds me of a daily show on radio, and what I call one of the panic factories. And in one of the episodes, there's a man who has a name, but his name comes from 2 letters in the alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, K, you know. And the mystic that this man carries throughout his weekly programs personifies his character. He doesn't have a backstory or even a real name, and his character is defined by his words. And my Stray Dog Family, you ask why he left and now he's back. But the truth is, my Stray Dog Family, the country is doing well. The country is being managed well, no matter what they say. One doctor said this, AstraZeneca.
We have a safe and effective vaccine, the AstraZeneca vaccine. We have 15%.
Safe and effective. Yet, he wants people to pivot.
I think that we should signal to the Cubans that pending, third-party verification of the safety and effectiveness of the.
He wants people to pivot. Wait on the Cuban vaccine. But why wait? Dr. Cameron Wilkinson had a good answer for that, a classic.
Saying that we are waiting on a vaccine that has not developed. It's like having your house on fire and a fire truck showed up and you said, no, you're going to wait for the one that's coming from Sandy Point or the.
But my Stray Dog Family, government, the team in the government has done well.
To reiterate that the Team Unity government has been a model employer. I am pleased to report that despite the financial and economic challenges resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis has been able to fulfill its payroll obligations to all of its employees.
All of its employees. Some 6,000 employees total, and government has not missed one paycheck. For 6,378 employees and pensioners, I should add. 3,908 salaried monthly paid employees. 1,124 for government auxiliary employees, and 1,346 pensioners. A total being paid, a total payroll disbursement by the government of St. Kitts and Nevis from January to May 2021. Never miss a month. $115.4 million. Other countries, some went to the CDB, Caribbean Development, borrowed to pay their payroll, not in St. Kitts and Nevis. The STEP operations as well, between January and May 2021, $21 million paid so far. Government has also paid the payroll of Casper as well. Don't lose sight of that. But government has been doing well. But here's what. There's another pandemic we have to fight.
Pandemic. Time wasted could result in lives lost. In addition to the fight against the novel coronavirus, we have been fighting another pandemic, best described as the pandemic of misinformation. False information, willfully and maliciously peddled by some locally and abroad to retard the progress we have made for their own personal agenda.
Their own personal agenda, my Stray Dog family. And I have come tonight, and I've come before, to tell you, as the United Nations General Secretary, Antonio Guterres, warned us, that we are seeing a crisis never seen before in the world, my Stray Dog family. A global that we are still facing, my Stray Dog family.
19 pandemic, the most challenging crisis we have faced since the Second World War. We are also seeing another epidemic, a dangerous epidemic of misinformation. Around the world, people are scared, they want to know what to do and where to turn for advice. This is a time for science and solidarity. Yet, the global misinfodemic is spreading. Harmful health advice and snake oil solutions are proliferating. Falsehoods are filling the airwaves. Wild conspiracy theories are infecting the internet. Hatred is going viral, stigmatizing and vilifying people and groups. The world must unite against this disease too. And the vaccine is trust. First, trust in science. And I salute the journalists and others fact-checking the mountain of misleading stories and social media posts. Social media companies must do more to root out hate and harmful assertions about COVID-19.
We too, we have to do more in St. Kitts and Nevis to root out this scourge of misinformation from these panic factories. And as Patches I speak tonight, I do not know if it was to separate Patches from the ambassador, extraordinary and plenipotentiary and permanent representative of St. Kitts and Nevis. But I'm going to stick with my story, that we're going to get rid of this scourge of misinformation in St. Kitts and Nevis. And that's a charge I got from the United Nations Secretary General, Antonio Guterres.
I'm announcing a new United Nations Communications Response Initiative to flood the internet with facts and science while countering the growing scourge of misinformation, a poison that is putting even more lives at risk. With common cause for common sense and facts, can defeat COVID-19 and build a healthier, more equitable, just and resilient.
And my Stray Dog family, that's my story for tonight, and I am going to stick with it. Until we connect on Monday for another edition of Stray Talk, have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Be good to yourselves, be good to all whom you meet. Find some time to worship and praise God for His tender mercies. Be good to all whom you meet, and be good to your brother and to your sisters and the entire world. I thank God for guiding this program tonight, and as always, I thank you, the many callers. We seem to have got over the telephone glitches tonight, and trust that will continue. Thank those on the Facebook Massive. Thank those rather on social media, I should say. And thank the many listeners on the big, bad national radio station, ZIZ. Don't you move your dial. Stand by for the Mayor of St. Paul's, Theophilus Clark, with his oldie goldies. I want to thank him for holding the board, and thank those in the back room, John James and Beverly Wilkerson, and all else, whoever else in the back room. Remember, whatever your mind conceives, you will achieve. But first of all, you got to believe. So when you wake up in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Stray Dog family, keep moving on. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Monday, have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Bye, Lord.
In the morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give Him thanks and praises for taking me safely through the night. rest of food and loving care, and from a